Welcome to South Shore Piano, the official podcast of the South Shore Piano School. I'm your host, Jonathan Roberts, and on this podcast, we talk with students, parents, teachers, and other leaders to find out exactly how music education and the arts are changing lives every day. My guest today is 12-year-old William Kaplan. William lives in Scituate and is a student at the Inly School, and he's been studying the piano since the age of 4. He's quite the showman and creative. In addition to working with sort of the traditional materials, he's also gone into ventures unknown. He's our first student to ever perform John Cage's 4 minutes and 33 seconds, which if you don't know that piece, it's basically a sort of experimental music where you just sit in silence for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. And he's also performed with puppets. He performed one piece of music for The Left Hand Alone and did a little interpretive dance thing with a puppet with his right hand. Just real all-around creative, and really excited to talk with him today. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today, William.
Well, thank you for having me.
William, I always like to start one of these with a fun question that has nothing to do with anything, because this is a fun show. Are you ready?
Right. Yeah.
If you had to choose between the ability to fly and heat vision, which one would you choose and why?
I think I would choose heat vision because I'm mildly afraid of heights, and I think flying miles up in the air would just be a bit scary. So heat vision, and I could see people through like walls and stuff.
Cool. Well, that's X-ray vision, right?
X-ray vision, but like you can see the heat through the. Well, it depends how you.
Or I guess you
make it
can
work.
see through walls because you will have burned through them, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're not looking at any people or animals. I love how detailed that answer was. All right, thank you for playing, William. On to the music stuff. So, William, take me back to the beginning, the very beginnings of your discovery of the world of music and getting started with piano. What are your memories? What are the feelings you remember? Take me through the story.
Well, I think it began when I had to come with my brother every day to his piano lesson, and I sat out there for a good 45 minutes to an hour watching him play play the piano. And I guess at that point I kind of wanted to be in that same area. I wanted to be part of the music. Um and I thought the piano would be my best direction because it was, with the little experience I had in music, piano was the most because I'd watched my brother play and I'd watched my mom play. And little by little, it started with me playing songs side by side with my mom on our piano at home, and I would listen to my brother play at home too. And I kept getting better and better until my mom decided it was time for me to actually be a part of lessons so I can really pursue my full musical talent.
Very cool. Do you remember what it was like from going to sort of casually playing, like with your mom or with your brother, to actual lessons, what that transition was like?
It was a very long time ago, so I don't exactly remember it, but I do remember a kind of feeling of pride because I had finally gotten to a standard where I could play with a real piano teacher rather than just like occasionally every time that we were up for it. So yeah.
Cool. So it felt exciting to be at that point where you could actually do weekly lessons. It's like you were one of the cool music kids now, right?
Definitely.
Cool music kids is not one of those terms you hear a lot, but we've coined that term, I think.
Yeah, it can work.
So what are some of your favorite kinds of music to play, to listen to?
To play, probably classical music. I think it's fascinating to listen to music that was developed so long ago, and yet people still play it today is a big I guess I really enjoy the idea of it. And to listen to, probably just video game music, stuff that I've like listened to in video games before, and liked, and then that became something that I wanted to listen to all the time, not just while I'm playing games. So, yeah.
Cool. What are some video game tunes that are particular favorites or that stand out?
Hmm, mostly from Super Mario video games. They
Ah,
make
classic.
they make the best music in my opinion.
Yeah, even the original Super Mario has some pretty addicting music, even though it's just the same tune over and over and over again.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it started a whole new era of music.
Totally. Totally. And then you have games like Undertale that people just go buy the soundtrack for the video game without even bothering to play the game anymore.
Right, because it's so famous for its music that people don't even have to play the game to acknowledge the fact that the music's good.
Totally. Video games have opened a whole new musical world to us. So, over the years, you've been playing, so you're 12 minus 4. So, you've been playing for 8 years in
Yep.
some capacity. What are some of your favorite things about playing music, sharing music?
Um, I think it's to I think it's to compare some of my skills with some of my friends' skills who can also play music. Um, I have this friend named Jack who can play the guitar, and I think it's really interesting sometimes to compare our two musical talents together because it's like it sounds completely different and we have different styles of music, yet at the same time we understand the other's interests. And so I think connecting with other musicians is one of my favorite parts of music.
That's so cool. We so easily take that for granted, especially playing the piano, that music is something meant for connection. And speaking of connection, you've played for a lot of these recitals, both the live ones and virtual ones. How have you enjoyed those experiences, or what has that been like for you to share your music with a group largely of which is strangers?
I think it's nice at the first. I do remember this. The first few recitals that I performed in, I was very nervous to perform in front of all these people who I never. I When you're just taking lessons, you don't really know that there are others like you in the same place as you until you go to a recital and then you're performing in front of these people. It completely changes the experience, and got super nervous the first few times, but after I learned that it's not really something to be afraid of, and I can work through it, and I can be feel comfortable in this environment, then that's when I started to really branch out and, like you were saying, play the John John Cage song and do the puppet show because it's as you get more comfortable, you're able to do more things easier.
Absolutely. I love all of that. Do you remember? I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but do you recall what sort of made that click for you with the performing in public, where William went from being nervous to play in public to now you're not only performing on the regular, but doing these things that most people, even adults, wouldn't wouldn't think about approaching? Do you remember what made that sort of click for you?
I guess it's probably has to do with when I started playing in some of the higher music books.
Uh-huh.
And when I started getting better at music, I realized that I could do better at recitals and that I could do better in public because I've been practicing more. So it was like at the time that I'd started advancing up in piano books, like away from the Randall Faber books and into like the other ones. I forget who they're made by, like the piano repertoire books.
The Royal Conservatory
Royal
series.
Yes, them. Um, that's I think that's when it made a big difference in my performing.
Cool. So building those skills, keeping at it with the practicing, seeing that you're playing more advanced music, then gave you the confidence to just kind of go out and own it in front of an audience. Am I close on that one?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So that leads nicely into my next question. I like to ask everybody this. We usually don't have a straight upward trajectory in our music journeys. We all have these sort of ups and downs with challenges, and not every piece is going to be an easy breezy thing. That's how we develop our skills. But not everybody makes it through those humps of challenges. So I like to ask everybody this. How have you dealt with those challenges over the years? Whether it's a particular piece that's especially difficult, or if you're dealing with a chunk of music that's not gelling right away, how do you push through that instead of just kind of throwing your hands up and saying, okay, I'm not going to do this music anymore?
I think um usually once when I run into a challenge, I try to work my way around it using creative skills and kind of just repetitive influence. Like I will either try to maybe change it to make it easier and maybe even a little more fun to play, or I just kind of repeat it and repeat it until my hands and brain get used to playing it, and then um it eventually just becomes part of the song for me. So it's usually one of those two ways. The only problem with it is that sometimes my brain will get stuck on a certain part, and then when I go back to play a different song, my brain will like, "Oh, is this the same song?" And it tries to play it like one of my other songs, and it's just difficult for me to work my way around that. But mostly it works out for the best.
Cool. So do you mean sometimes you'll be working so intensely on one tune that that will end up kind of transitioning into this other piece that has nothing to do with the first one that you were working on?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
I guess that's a sign that you're doing a lot of good repetitive work then if it's sticking like that.
Mhm.
And then for the creative stuff, you mentioned working around it with creative skills and changing it. What are some ways that you might do that?
Well, it can be different. I sometimes you can like actually cut around some notes entirely, and sometimes you can just add one more or take out one less note to make it just a little easier. It kind of varies on degree of how hard or how easy um the part in question is. So that's the important part is it really depends on what song you're playing and
For
what are you trying to work around.
Absolutely. And I think it's so easy to forget when we're working on especially classical music. A lot of times it feels like we're not allowed to change anything or some kind of awful thing will happen, but it's okay because most of the time nobody really knows the piece, and a lot of the times you can take out notes or add notes and then nobody knows except maybe the piano teacher who also theoretically encourages creativity. Very cool stuff. Now, we've been online now for about 13 months, which is hard to believe the time has flown by. And you've kept at it all this time, seamlessly transitioning to from awesome live William to awesome online William. What has music meant to you during the time of the COVID pandemic?
Uh, it's mostly just meant a lot more time to practice, and I think my piano skills have kind of spiked since the pandemic, because I have more time to practice, more time to play, more time to really um work around theory and like difficult pieces like we were just talking about. So I think it's it's pretty much been an actual a help for me.
A silver lining.
Yeah.
Cool. And then how about the virtual recital experiences? You've been a regular both on YouTube and on Zoom. What's that been like to sort of share your music in a different way that we may have not considered had the pandemic not happened?
It's um it's almost relieving the fact that if something goes wrong, I mean, obviously not at a live showing, but if something goes wrong, you can just try again or you can edit around it. You can if you make a mistake, you don't have to that doesn't necessarily have to be your final take and you have to post that. So, um I think in some ways it makes it easier.
Yeah, recording stuff definitely does take that off the table, having to get it right the very first time. How about the live Zoom recitals? If I recall correctly, you've had some family pipe in that don't live locally, which was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, that's that's one of the pros, being for everyone able to see it out live, not even being near. So you can't, because you can't do that with the in-person recitals. You can only really like record it and show it to them later. For it to be actually happening at that moment is something kind of magical. Um, so, but I think one of the cons is that music can sometimes be distorted through Zoom, and it can be kind of messed up, and it's a lot less smooth than an experience in person. So it it kind of balances out.
Absolutely. I often joke that I feel like there's sort of a tech arms race right now to see who can come up with the platform that works best for music performance. And I think it's going to be like a big joke in the end. I think somebody's finally going to get it where we have perfect sound that never distorts and duets are possible. And I think it'll happen just in time for the pandemic to end. That's my prediction on that.
That's that's actually pretty likely, considering like if you're looking at the timeline of technology versus the timeline of the pandemic, they're probably just gonna hit at the exact same time.
Totally. So you mentioned at the beginning that your initial interest in music was basically from family, seeing your brother play, seeing your mom play, doing stuff with them. Do you feel like music has helped you bond with your family even more
Yeah,
since starting?
definitely. I think it's really, even with like not immediate family, I can still show it to them, and I think they're impressed, and I can see others' music as well. So I think that music definitely increases bonds 100%.
I love it. Now, how do you see music as being part of your future? In 6 years, you're going to be a legal adult, which is kind of hard to believe. Not hard to believe, but it seems far away but close all at once. How do you see music being a part of your future?
I don't see it really as a main career, but I want to be able to do it. I want to be able to play well, and I want to be able to um be part of a community where I can talk to others about music, while still have other interests as well that I might want to pursue. So I think I want to keep it by my side at all times.
Cool. Do you think you'll take a piano with you to college?
That's a tricky one. I don't know. Maybe.
And I often joke with you, William, that when you grow up and see the Terminator movies, I need you to come back and explain the plot to me, okay?
All right, sure. You got it.
Well, William, this has been a wonderful conversation, inspiring, thought-provoking. You're just an all-around awesome dude. I can't wait to see what you do over the next 6 years with music and beyond, in music and in life and in awesomeness and in creativity. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you to all of our listeners out there. Again, this is South Shore Piano, the official podcast of the South Shore Piano School, where we talk with students, parents, teachers, and other leaders in the arts to find out exactly how music and the arts are changing lives every day. If you enjoyed this, do hit the subscribe button on the podcasting app of your choice, or if you're checking out the YouTube version, hit the subscribe button and the bell so that you're among the first to find out about new episodes as they're released. We publish new episodes every Monday and Friday. Thank you so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.